Yep. Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we learned the basic of SAS. Have you installed it? Huh? So, we learned how to install SAS first. So, npm install globally SAS. After installing the SAS, we have to create a new SAS file. So, usually it will have effects.scss. We have to translate into CSS. For that, we have to run the command SAS effects dot SCSS into effects dot CSS. That's what we have to do. And we learned SAS hierarchy. That means parent and child hierarchy. Parent and child hierarchy. Yeah. So we discussed about one more. These are all points we learned. Yesterday we discussed installing, creating a SAS file, translate into CSS, parent-child hierarchy. That means we can directly write parent. In the parent, you can directly define child. You can directly configure that. Next, we learned about another option. How do we deal with variables? Variables. So, what are variables and how to configure the variables? We discuss it. So, some more points we need to learn here. Let's see. Because after learning JavaScript, you can learn more better about SAS interactions. Here, basically, first, in order to work with SAS, let's see here. So, yesterday we saw one example about the variable. Actually, when you are defining variables, uh, already definition I told you. Variables. So, what are variables? Variables are storage locations in memory where you can store a value, and use it as a part of any expression. And SAS variables are declared by using dollar. That means you have to define simply dollar and variable name colon what value you want to store. That is the basic syntax. Now, actually, while declaring variable, example I already given. So suppose example here, suppose we have dollar, we have some shadow, and it is having 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 3 pixel, some black. We want to apply for any container. Then what we do? Box shadow. We have to access dollar shadow. That is how we apply the variables. Now, actually, when you are dealing with the variables, one basic point is variable naming. Variable naming, some rules you have to follow. Generally, in programming, while naming variables, variable name, variable name must start with an alphabet alphabet or underscore. Underscore is underscore symbol. Variable must start with an alphabet or underscore. Usually variable cannot start with number. That means name cannot start with the number or any another special characters. So a variable name must start with, can have underscore. Actually variables already naming only I am telling. Declaring variable requires it already starts with what? Dollar. After dollar, 1, 2, 3 cannot be a variable. It cannot be a variable. But ABC can be a variable. Underscore ABC can be a variable. That means underscore shadow. So this is valid. Suppose dollar shadow, that is also valid. Suppose dollar shadow 1, that is also valid. You can have numbers. So you can have dollar shadow underscore 1, that is also valid. So directly we have dollar underscore. So here suppose 1, 2, 3. So this is invalid. It must start with an alphabet or it must start with an underscore. Names cannot start with number, but they can have numbers. In between you can use numbers. Separated with underscore you can give a number, right? So while giving the names for variable, this is important. Another point, name max can be length can be 255 characters long. Name max length can be 255 characters. So you should not give lengthy names more than 255 characters. The maximum length of variable name must be 255. It can be up to 255 characters long maximum. That is the variable name. And important, it cannot contain blank spaces and periods. Periods are nothing but dot. It cannot contain blank spaces and dot. Variable should not contain any blank spaces. It should be continuous. So it cannot have dots. You cannot have dots. So whenever defining the variables, you have to follow all these standards. This is variable naming. So when you give a name to variable, you need to follow these rules, right? Another important is actually another is variable scope. You need to know variable scope. Actually every variable is block scope. Every variable is block scope. Every variable is block scope. What does that means? It is accessible. It is accessible only within the block. Within the block where it is defined. It is configured. It is accessible only within the block where it is configured. It is called block scope. That means actually, suppose we are having a block. So this is called block. In this blocks you declared a variable. You declared a variable and you put some value. You cannot access outside the block. That variable cannot be accessed outside the block. This is invalid. You can access you can access only within the block. That means you declared in a block, it is accessible only in the block. Then if you want to access in every block, then what you have to do is you can define global variable. global variable. So outside all blocks, outside all the blocks, you can define a global variable so that you can access anywhere. That outside all blocks is called as module scope. It is called module scope. That means you see here means a simple point I will show here. Suppose here I am writing here dollar shadow. That's a variable. Now this shadow 2 pixel, 3 pixel, 2 pixel, some black. Actually, this is in the SCSS file. Then this entire scope is called as module. That entire scope is called as module. That means everything, the file is called as module. In this module, you have a variable. Now, actually, in this module, you can have dot container. This is a block. That is a block. Suppose you are writing another one. Suppose we are defining box. This is another block. Now we have two blocks here. Now this variable can be accessed in any one of these two. You can access here, that means box shadow. You can access dollar shadow here. We can put box shadow, and you can access here also. That means it is global. This is called as global scope. Understood? That is global scope. You can access anywhere. Now inside the container, I am declaring a variable called suppose border, and it contains 2 pixel solid red color. This is also a variable. This is also a variable. And here I am giving border. Border comes from dollar border. So this is not global variable. This is called local scope. Now actually that is called as block scope. Understood? Block scope. Now I want this border to be used in this box. That means I am using border and I am using dollar. Dollar border is not available here. It will show an error now. So that means let's compile this. CD SRC and CD SCSS. And what is it? SAS effects dot SCSS effects dot CSS. And when we are translating, it shows an error. The error says that undefined variable border at line number 10. That means at line number 10, you have a problem. The problem is it says it is not defined. Why? Because it is defined inside this block. It is accessible only in that block. So you can access anywhere in that block, but you cannot access outside. That means this is invalid. That is invalid. Why? Because it is in another block. If you want to access everywhere, then you have to keep it global. Outside all the blocks is called as global. You keep outside all the blocks, then you can access everywhere. Sometimes what we do is we create variables and we don't want those variables to be used outside in another location. We want to use them only in the specified location. Then actually we define the block scope variables, right? So this is actually the scope. That means how you configure. This is an example. That is example. We have global scope. We have block scope. What is invalid here? What is the invalid here? It says that dollar border is undefined. Undefined means it is not defined here. It is present in a global scope. We can access and use it. This is simple how we can configure the variables and define them, right? So now while working with variables, so you need to know these basic rules. How to declare a variable, how to manage variable scope, and what are the rules of declaring variable. Another important is actually you should know basic data type. Data type. Data type means what type of data you can store in a variable. That means it defines the data structure. It defines the data structure. Data type means it defines data structure. Actually, data structure means data structure specifies the type and the range of data. It specifies the type and range of data that can be stored in a variable. That can be stored in a variable. That means now the question is, in a variable, what kind of data you can store? What is the type of data you can store? Generally, programming languages have data types like number, string, boolean, null, undefined, like that. Data types will be there. But here it is a lot different because it is CSS. That means what are the data types? It's simple to tell here that all CSS types are allowed. CSS types are allowed. CSS types means what? CSS types means what? CSS units are allowed. CSS units are allowed. What are the CSS units? CSS units means CSS units are nothing but, so you have pixels, you have percent, so you have centimeters, you have inches, you have points. So units, I told you now, EM, REM, am I right? Absolute units, relative units. So CSS units are allowed. Another important, CSS keywords are allowed. Means you can say keyword attributes are allowed. All CSS attributes are allowed. All attributes are allowed. In a same way how you write. That means you are writing border. So whatever you say, what are the attributes? Attribute values actually. All CSS attribute values are allowed. What are the CSS attribute values? CSS attribute values. Suppose if it is display, what are the values? We have flex, we have grid, right? If it is like none, right? If it is text align, like left, center, right. So all these are allowed. That means you can configure the CSS attributes. You can define all the units. You can use all the CSS attribute values in the same way how you define in CSS. You configure in CSS. So if anyone asks what type of value you can store in a variable, CSS types of values you can store. CSS units types, CSS attribute values. Attributes values means they also include, if you remembered, we discussed inherit, am I right? Inherit, we have like initial, you have like unset. These are also CSS related keywords used for the attributes. These all are allowed in a data type. That means what you can do, you can declare a variable, syntax. You can declare a variable. Suppose I said display, and in that, what is the value you can keep? We can keep as flex. We can keep like this. This is option. Now, suppose you are using some options like means variable name can be anything. Variable I can define as suppose set effect. Okay, set effect. We will keep this as inherit. Like this, you can use the words. Suppose I am defining size. Size I can define as 20px. That means all CSS units, all CSS keywords, all CSS attribute values are allowed. That means generally already we done. Suppose I said border like 2 pixel solid red color combination. How you use the CSS values? All the CSS value types are allowed. It can be units, it can be keywords, it can be styles, attributes, anything. All are allowed in a variable, right? You can store all of these in variables. So while working with variables, you need to understand what is the variable declaration, what are the rules of declaration, what is the scope of variable, what kind of data we can store in a variable. We can store in a variable. Actually, that is one simple concept of declaring and defining variables. Next, after understanding variables and data types, as I told you that it is not like other programming languages. Lot of difference is there. Here, you need to know about SAS functions. So after knowing about variables and data types, another important is SAS functions. Actually, SAS functions, we have the SAS functions. Like one of the important function is if. Functions are defined by using at the net. We have a function if. We have a function like else. Else. Remember, don't compare this with any other languages like other C++, Java, .NET, JavaScript. It is CSS related compiler. So here all limits are there. So many restrictions are there. And after learning programming, you can do more better. Means after learning JavaScript, you can do more better. Actually, we have to teach this after JavaScript. Then it is easy for anybody. Because in JavaScript, there will be programming, complete knowledge programming will be there. No need to teach them. Just you give a document, they will easily understand. But I'm just giving an introduction to make you understand till now whatever CSS you made, how to make it easy. After learning JavaScript, you can make it more better. You can do it more better, right? As of now, you can try some few basic things. Complex things you can try later after learning JavaScript. So SAS functions, we have the functions like if, we have the functions like else, we have the function like for. These are the basic functions. These are the basic functions of SAS. Actually, the purpose of these functions, we have the basic purpose is nothing but, so if is actually at the net if is technically it is a selection. It is a selection statement. If is a selection statement. Actually, what is the purpose? It is used in decision making. Decision making. It is a selection statement. It is used in decision making. That means it can use conditional rendering. It can use conditional rendering. It can use conditional rendering. Condition rendering is nothing but, so it can apply effects according to situation and state. It can apply effects according to situation and state. That is called as conditional rendering. Conditional rendering means situation wise output. If situation is matching, one output. If it is not matching, another. That means it can change the output according to the situation. It can change the effects according to situation. That is what technically called as conditional rendering. So if is used for the conditional rendering. For example, see now here how to define the options here. Let's see. Here we are having index, we have container, we have SAS heading and paragraph. I'm just using here a variable called base border size. That's the option I define. Base border size is mentioned as suppose 5 pixel. That is the base border size is 5 pixel. Just a value we mentioned, base border size 5 pixel. And here we are writing a simple container. And for container border, we are giving dollar. We are using base border size and solid and red color. We are defining like this. The size is changing. This will be standard. Solid red color will be standard. The size will be changing. Now what happens is, for the container we define, inside the container we have a heading. For the heading also we are applying a border. Here base border size, and we say dotted, and it is some blue color. That means how much size is present for the container, the same size is present for the heading. Same size for the heading. Both are having the same size. But what should happen is, if the base border size is above 5, then it will apply to border. But the heading container it will apply. But heading should use a different border style if it is greater than 5. Up to 5 it should use dotted. If it is greater than 5 thickness, then it should not use dotted. It should change to solid. That means border up to 5 dotted, because when size increasing, dotted will be not good. If more border size is given, then it should change to solid. That means the border, whether you want dotted or whether you want solid, that depends on border size. For which one? For heading. For heading or for others also you can define same. For heading, see what I am doing now. That means this border is not standard, it is changing. For heading, that is changing. So how to change that? Actually, we have to use a condition function. We are writing a function. If what is the expression? Expression is nothing but if base border size, base border size, base border size. If base border size is greater than 5 pixel, 5 pixel. If the base border size is greater than 5 pixel, that means now we have important condition here. Condition requires some operators. You know that. That means conditions are defined. Conditions are defined by using, what is it? So operators. What are the operators? You know, conditional operators we have greater than, you have greater than or equal, greater than or equal, we have less than, and you have less than or equal, less than or equal, you have not equal, this is not equal, and we have double equal, this is actually equal. double equal is equal. So these are general comparison operators, decision making, right? That means we need to configure in this way. So here we are writing if it is greater than 5, then what we will do is border we will apply. So we will put base border size. We will use the base border size, and we will apply the size as solid, and we will put a blue color. We'll put a blue color if it is greater than 5. If it is not greater than 5, that means here we are using an else. That means here we have to write at the net what else. If the condition is not satisfying, so if this condition is satisfying, this. If the condition is not satisfying, then you can define border. Border we will put base border size, we will put as what? Dotted border, and we will put a blue color. So blue color border we are applying. This is the option. Or you can change the color also. For example, let's change the color as dotted and some green. That is the color we are defining. Now heading color, heading border depends on the base border size. If the base border size, currently base border size is suppose 3 pixel. If the base border size is 3 pixel, that means now which border will apply for heading? So dotted border will apply, because this is for greater than 5 only, it will apply blue, right? Otherwise dotted. Let's run this and see. We will compile this program and say it is compiled successfully. Now we will go to fx.css and see, or you see the index page. You run the index page. In the index page, the effect is applied to it, and it will apply that. That means dotted green border will come. For example, now see what we are doing here. We are not giving any padding here. Extra, I will give, suppose container have a padding 5 pixel. Okay. Now you see here, I am changing the base border size as 6 pixel. I am changing to 6 pixel. If I am changing to 6 pixel and run this, and you can see that it is applied solid. That means if the base border size is above 5, then it will be solid border. If it is less, then automatically it will be dotted border. That means you change this to 2 pixels and you compile it, then automatically it will be dotted border. Right? The border style is changing, color it's changing according to the situation. This is conditions. So if is conditional rendering, it is changing the appearance. Conditional rendering, you can add multiple conditions. I will show you here. Let's see here. This is example for that. This is example. So, and if I return, another one is what? Else. Else is called as what? It is a clause. It is a clause used for if. It is a clause used for if. We should not say if and else statement, because else is not a statement. Else is not a statement. If is a statement, else is its clause. We should say if and else clause. We see generally ordinary learners programming, they say if and else statement. That is wrong. It is not if and else statement, because else is never a statement. Else is a clause for if. You cannot directly write else and some function. Then how it can be a statement? So else is not a statement, else is a clause. What is the purpose of this clause? It is used, to define an alternative to apply when the condition is not matching. When the condition is not matching, it is used to define an alternative to apply when the condition is not matching. So this is else clause. So syntactically, how do we write? We define if, and we have an expression, or you call it as an condition. And what are the effects to apply when condition is true? And we have to write else the effects to apply when condition is false. Condition is false. How we need to define. So this is a simple conditional rendering. That means how it manages the condition. Actually, this have a lot of forms. We have a lot of forms here. We will see. There is another form for this. Let's copy this example. The example is this: fx.ses. fx.scss. This is the code. This is the sample. I'm not giving index.html because index.html is same what we given yesterday, right? It is not changing. After this, every time you know what to do. What you have to do, translate SAS what? fx.scss into fx.css. Then we have to link to index.html. And this is index.html. And you can observe in fx.css, it will not apply all of them. These conditions will not be there. In fx.css, which border style will be there? In fx.css, it will apply only this one or only this one. This condition will not be there. You observe inside fx, it will have dotted green. Those conditions are only for decision making in the pre-compiling level, right? Finally, your CSS will contain only one. It will not contain both. And again, you change the size, it will get a new effects and apply that. That means now it makes your CSS simplify, and it can dynamically change now. It changes according to the situation now. For example, these types of options are used regularly. For example, see, suppose I will go to SCSS. Here I am creating a theme color. I am defining the theme color as red. I am giving a color value. When I am giving color value, so here we are writing the condition. If so, at the net, if dollar theme color, if dollar theme color is equal to what is the color? It is what? Red. If the theme color is red, then what we have to do? We need to put the condition. I want the container background color as a light red. That means I will keep red, and in this red, what we will do? We will keep a light red. That will be the background color. And what we will do is Border we will keep as solid red color. So that means 2 pixel solid red color. That is the border. And what we will do is we will put padding as 5 pixels. This is if color is red. And one more important is the heading also, wherever heading is there. For heading color, we will put as red color. Heading color as red color. We are defining heading color as red. And in the red, we will put some dark red for heading. Okay, dark red for heading. And wherever paragraph is there, paragraph also color, we will keep as red color for paragraph. That means entire appearance should be in reddish. You see on your mobiles and Windows operating system and everywhere, you see themes will be there. You can select a theme, and according to the theme, all appearance will change. Colors, font styles, everything will change. Even you can change background images. Right here, I am applying this. So this is one. Okay. I'm else if. That means I am using else if another condition. If the theme color, so that means dot theme color. If the theme color is equal to green, if the theme color is equal to green, that means another condition. You can add multi-level conditions here. Then let's copy the same. Okay. And we will change. If it is green, this we will change it to green color. That means the light green color. This will change to the dark green color. We will change it to the dark green color. This is more darker green color. It is more darker green color. And here also we will change the dark color. That means this is also color as the dark. Yeah. So we will change this green. Where is it? Yeah. So we will change the dark green. Okay, that is fine. We are applying like this. Now what should happen is if the color is red theme will apply, green theme will apply. Like this, you can add multiple conditions. So you can add another else if again. So if it is dollar theme color is equal to, suppose it is blue, then all this container and again appearance must be in blue color. That means we will apply a blue shade for that. That means we will select a blue shade for that. A blue shade, and here also we will put a blue shade. Okay. And here also we will keep a blue shade. Okay. And here also blue shade. Just move the color to the blue, then you can get that color and display. Now, if they are not giving any color between red, green or blue, then what should happen? That means else. Else what we will do is we will change it to the gray color. We'll change it to the gray color, background light gray color. And text will be dark gray color. That means heading here we will give the dark black. And here also we will give the dark black. That's the appearance. That means now you have so many conditions to define. Out of that, all will not apply. Only one will apply according to theme color. What is our theme color? Red. Right now, see, you compile this and see automatically for your page, a red theme is applied. You just change the theme color to green, automatically compile. There will be a green color applied to your page. All appearance, background, foreground, everything is changing. Now you are applying here, you are applying some blue. So blue, and automatically the blue theme is applied to your page. It is applied to your page. If you are applying any color which is not there in the list, suppose you said, say yellow, right? Say you said yellow, then what will happen? It is going to apply the black color. Why? Because yellow is not defined inside the conditions, right? That is basically how the colors combinations and themes are used. And very important, here you are changing, here you are changing simply the color name here. What you will do later in JavaScript, you will learn, you can create a drop down and you can ask them to select a theme color. And from the drop down, he will select a theme color and say apply. That theme will be applied to his page. That's we can do with JavaScript. We can dynamically access the styles and we can change. So that is what advantage as a programmer for us in future. So you write some set of effects, which one to apply, it is depending on the decision. This is called conditional rendering also. That means we decide according to situation. So which color you applied, suppose you applied green, and automatically you can see the effects will be that green. Now your CSS will not use all of them. Your CSS will use only one green color. So which color you choose at that particular moment, that color related CSS only generated. Others are not. That means originally in this file, you see almost 50 lines code is there. But in the final, it is having only 11. Right? It changes according to the situation. If you have to manually change everything like that, it is difficult. This is the advantage of using the functions, right? So this is another example. This is an example for multi-level decisions. How you can handle multi-level decisions. Generally, multi-level decisions, first definition will be like this. We define if we have an expression. After that, we will have else if, at the net else if, another expression. If that expression is matching, what to do? If all expressions are not matching, then what we have to do? Else. That means else contains all the statements to execute when any of these expressions are not matching. This is multi-level decisions, how you can define, right? So this is example program. Let me copy this. effects.scss. In effects.scss, I will copy this one. And we will paste that. This is the decision making in that, right? Our front end is same. This is changing. This is changing. This is what one important function. What is the function? If another one else. Another important in the functions, we have another function that is for. Actually, for it is used for iterations. For is used for iterations. What is actually, remember, in general computer programming, iteration is different, loop is different. Don't say loop or iteration. It is loop and iteration. Loops are different, iterations are different. So it is not a loop, it is an iterator. Loops and iterations, how they are different, you are going to learn in program. In programming language, you will learn in JavaScript, I will tell you. Here, this is not a loop, this is called as an iteration. Actually, what is difference basically between a loop and iteration? I will tell you a simple point. Actually, in general computer programming, loop usually have initialization. it will have a condition, and it will have a counter. It will have initialization, it will have condition, and it will have a counter. That means usually we write like this. Suppose for initialization, I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. Like this we write. That means you have to tell from where to start, where to stop, and how to proceed. Proceed to next one, or proceed to previous one, proceed to next two. You have to define that. But iterators are not like that. Actually, iterator will not have initialization, condition, and counter. Iterator will have simply for. So we have from, to, through. Like this we will have. And simple, that's it. That means no initialization, no condition, and no counter. That means it will start from 1 through 10. That means you see here I defined for 1 to 10, something like this. Then what will happen? It means that it will start from 1, it will end at 10. After 1, it will increment automatically to the next 2. Here there is no condition, here there is no counter, and here there is no initialization. Just you have to mention the specification. These are called iterators. Actually, iterator means in computer programming, iteration is a software design pattern. It is a software design pattern that is used to access elements from a collection in sequential order. Iteration is a software design pattern. Discussing about software design pattern is too much for your level, so I will not touch that. That is very big concept, very complicated thing that is not for your level of understanding as of now. Right? That is the reason I will not touch about design pattern. Right? That's a very big concept. Right? Even people with Java, .NET like technology struggle to understand this. Right? So I will not go into other design pattern. Just I will give one basic point. What is it? To make you understand, because in computer programming, everything is according to the design pattern. For example, one general example I will tell you. One general example, let's take a common example. Suppose we have a game like chess. We have a chess game. So you don't know how to play chess game. Then what you have done is you purchased a book, and in that book, how to play chess. And it is the book written by some grandmaster. Right? It is the book written by some grandmaster of chess. He written that book, and you learned playing chess game by reading that book. That means now you are perfect. You know all the rules, you know every move, how to do, how a piece works, how a piece moves, how the timing works, and everything you learn. 100% perfectly learned. Now, with this knowledge of chess, what you learned through this book, can you attend a tournament and win chess tournament with other experienced chess players? Why not? You learned already perfectly. Nothing experience. We don't care about the word experience. Right? In software industries, especially, experience is nothing. That means we have so many dumb people with experience, nothing knowledge in software companies. Right? So that is the reason, don't say experience. Experience, if experience is the point, I hope you know 12, 13 years boy got a job in Google as an artificial intelligence and his package is 25-30 crore. You know, na, what experience he is having? 13 years boy. Right? Experience, don't say about experience in software companies. Right? And a fresher can have good skills than an experienced person. Experience is not the point. Then why he cannot win the game? Why it is difficult? Because the people who already played the game and playing the game from so many years, they have some tricks, shortcuts. Those tricks are not in books. Those tricks are not in books. For example, you are able to understand my English. Am I right? You are able to understand my English. Then why you need subtitles for English movies? Why can't you understand English movies? Their English is better than me. Huh? Why you cannot understand English movies then? Because one of the main problem we have to face is English is not their learning language, that is their native spoken language. Understood? It is their native spoken language. In general, native spoken language for those people, right? So they use a lot of shortcuts in the language, which is not mentioned in any English books. They use a lot of shortcuts. For example, if you have an English sentence, that means it says, I am going to kill you. Then the English dialogue is, am gonna kill ya. That is their pronunciation. They says, I'm gonna kill you. But for you who learned school level English, right? I am going to kill you. By the time he will kill and go. By the time you read the subtitle, their scene finished. Right? That means the point here is that is their native language. They speak a lot of shortcuts. Suppose you have, suppose a North Indian friend is talking to a Telugu person is talking to a North Indian, both wants to learn each language, then you will not learn proper language. Right? Even you learned Hindi from a book, you can't speak to a North Indian friend. Why? Because that is his native language. He have a lot of shortcuts and different words which you can't even understand. Right? That is the native language. Software development is also like that. Development also like that. That means a learner learns in a very order way. But an experienced expert, what he will do, lot of shortcuts he will do in programming. You can't understand. You learned that same technology, but when you see the experienced person writing code, you will be confused. You will think like, why he is writing like this? But I learned in a different way. So that is the reason. Actually, I will tell you the point here now. What is the problem? I told you, they have some shortcuts. Na? For example, take an example, a simple example of, let's take a simple example of a tic-tac-toe game is there. Am I right? In this tic-tac-toe game, suppose my move is here. So the next person move is here. I will guarantee that I am going to win the game. I am going to win the game. 100%. Why? Because now we have a certain strategy. My next move will be here. His move must be here. My next move will be here. Game done. Right? That means I can close the game here. I can close the game here. Right? Strategy, plan. That is very important. Without strategy and plan, you start playing, then you will lose every time. Software designing also same. In software development, we have to follow certain strategies and design software applications. If you don't follow strategies, then your application fails. Your application fails. It cannot work for different situations. And such strategies and such plans in software development, we call them as design patterns. We call them as design patterns. Every software developer have to know these design patterns, because in real time projects we have to build application according to these patterns. Actually, we have 23 design patterns. We call them as gang of four, GOF, gang of four design patterns, developed by a group of 4 software technicians. These 4 people developed 23 design patterns, and every software programming language have to follow these patterns. If you ask, without following these patterns, if I develop a software, what will happen? What will happen? Lot of problems will come. For example, a bank people came to you and asked you to build an application. You are building an application for bank. Bank is a finance domain. For a finance domain, you are building an application. Then what happens is, if you build application by your own, then automatically lot of problems will come. Then what we do? Already several applications are built for bank. They have a certain plan and strategy. We follow the same. For finance projects, one strategy is there. For artificial intelligence, one strategy is there. For web development, one strategy is there. We have to follow. These strategies you will learn not as a fresher, as an experience in software program. That means even people learn like Java, .NET, they learn only 2-3 design patterns in their entire learning process. There are 23 design patterns. Even 10-15 years experienced person also don't have idea of all these 23 patterns. All these 23 patterns, because in his project he may be using only few, and he will not get a chance to know and work with all the 23 patterns in projects. Even you have 20-30 years of experience in software industry, there is no chance that you worked with all 23 patterns. There is no chance. So because these are very complex, software design patterns are about how do you build the software. Without following these patterns, if you build, your software will fail. For example, when you are practicing some language or something, you are practicing daily exercises. If you got any error, have you gone to Google and searched for that error? Have you Googled it? Many times you might have done. Some mistake is coming, then you are unable to solve by yourself. Have you Googled for that mistake? You found answers. You found answers. How they know that you will come with this mistake? How they know that you will come with this mistake and they have an answer for you? Understood the point? How they know that you will come with this problem? They have ready-made answer for that now. You see the answer posted 5 years back, 2 years back, 3 years back. 3 years back, they know you will commit this mistake. Huh? That means they are future predictions. Huh? They have a time machine. Huh? Then, because they know that this person will design in this way. As per the standards, it is not good. If he develops like this, he will get a problem. Everybody knows. And in the suggestions, he will tell that don't follow like this, use this. Understood? That means see the answers on Google. Nobody will try to correct your answer. He will just give a suggestion. He will simply say that try this. If there is a mistake in your code, like semicolon missing, tag missing, then he will tell that see that semicolon is missing, tag is missing. Otherwise, he will simply say that you are following a bad approach, better you try this. Everybody will suggest you an alternative. So software design patterns are used in software industry, in software development, to reduce the problems, issues. And there are 23 design patterns. Out of that, few things you will learn here and there, and that is one of that is iterator. One of that pattern is iterator. Iterator is a software design pattern. What is iterator? Iterator is sequentially accessing the elements from a collection. Accessing elements from a collection in sequential order is called iterator. From begin to end, it can access elements in a sequential order, one after another. If there are elements to read, it will read. If there are no elements, then it will stop. It doesn't require any condition. Generally, loops require a condition. Here, iterator doesn't require a condition. It doesn't require a condition. This is important. So you should know the importance of these design patterns. Later, if any situation comes, you will understand actually so many software design patterns will be there. So I will show you the means just an overview I will give you here. So these are all the software design patterns here. These are the design patterns actually. This is design patterns actually. These are design patterns. We have 23 design patterns. We call them as gang of 4. They are categorized into 3 groups: creational, structural, behavioral patterns. Creational patterns means this all comes under creational patterns. So abstract, factory, builder, factory method, prototype, singleton, these are called creational patterns. We have structural patterns. These are called structural patterns: adapter, bridge, composite, decorator, facet, flyweight, proxy. We have communication patterns. We call behavioral. These all are behavioral patterns. In that you see we have iterator. Iterator comes under behavioral pattern. It is a communication pattern. So 23 design patterns categorized into 3 groups. Entire software development depends on these patterns. It's a very big concept, architecturally very, very complex. When you are going to any company with a resume mentioned more than 10-15 years experience, then they expect design patterns from you, right? As a software engineer, right? Otherwise they don't expect design patterns. That means you are looking for team lead, project lead like role, then design patterns knowledge is mandatory. Otherwise no need. That means you just need to know few design patterns concept. That anyhow you will learn in JavaScript and other things little bit here and there. But very extreme experts, that means who are going to be team leads or project lead role with more than 10-15 years experience, for them companies will ask design patterns. Otherwise even 4-5 years experience person don't have proper knowledge on design patterns. We don't even expect that much knowledge from an 4-5 years experience guy, right? So it is very complicated thing. And entire project development depends on design patterns. That means even you don't know design patterns, in your project everywhere design patterns are there. Your seniors are implementing it, your seniors configured it, your seniors mentioned it, and you are just using. You may not even know that you are using, right? That is the point. So this is an iteration, a software design pattern. What is advantage of this? Now you see what is the advantage. Suppose we will create here an image. This is for example we have a div. For this we will put a class as box1, and in that we have an image source. It is some / public images, some shoe.jpg, width is 100 and height is 100. That is box1. Now I am writing another box. So this is box2, and here we have some shoe1. Shoe1 is there. So shoe and some jacket. Yeah, we have some box3 like this we have defined. So we have some like mobile is there, anything like some Amazon banner or some ad one ASP course, something. Okay. Like this, we have some boxes here. Box 4. Already I showed you in the introduction, but you see here now, suppose we have AWS course. Okay. Now we have 4 boxes. We want to access all these 4 boxes. In order to access all the 4 boxes, generally what we have to do, we have to write box 1, box 2, box 3 like that. Now instead of that, you can simply put a for. We can use a for. And see, for is expecting variable. Variable is I, starting from start to end, from start to 1 and at how many? 4. That means from 1 to 4. That means we have to start from 1 to 4. So here 4 is given as 5, because it will be actually 0 to 4, or it will be 1 to 5. One less than you have to configure. Okay. Now 1 to 5, we have to access dot box. Dot box hyphen. Up to this, all are having same name. 1, 2, 3, 4. This number is changing. Now we have to access the variable I and put it here. That means I value first time it will be how much? 1. Up to second time 2, third time 3, fourth time 4, 5, 5. After 5 it will stop. Now what happens is, this value you need to bind to this existing string. Then we have to bind by using hash curly brace. By using hash curly brace, we can access the variable. Directly you cannot combine. Directly you cannot combine. This is called binding expression. We call as binding expression. So to this string, you need to bind this value here. How to bind a dynamic value to any string? You have to do that by using this $I. Now what should happen? What should happen for every box? What we will do, for every box from 1 to 5, we will give generally box border. Border is what? 2 pixel, 2 pixel solid black. Okay. After that, what we will do is margin left. Margin left. Margin left, we will use $I into 100 pixel. That means what will happen? So first time means it is which one? First time means it is box 1. For box 1, what will be margin left? 1 into 100. That means how much? 100. For box 2, what will be that? 2 into 100. That means it will be 200. That means it is changing the appearance of every box gradually. That is the simple technique we applied. And suppose I will give here other options. Width is 100 pixel, height also 100 pixel. Now you can see, I will compile this and run this. I will compile that and see here. And you can see all the boxes are like this defined here. All the boxes are defined in this way. That means we are accessing all the boxes with a simple logic. Actually in CSS, you have to write like this. Understood? That means box 1, what is the effect? Box 2, what is the effect? Up to box 4. If there are 10 boxes, you need to apply it like this. But now we can manage that with a simple logic. That is the iterations. That means by writing a simple logic, you can easily handle complex operations. These, just try what I given now. Because later, once you start learning JavaScript, you can try more better in depth about these programs. Right? As of now, don't go that much complicated. Your brain cannot handle. Understood? Even you are exceptionally genius person also, just do what we have discussed in class as of now. right? Later you can do more complicated things after learning programming very well, right? Don't try too much with this knowledge, right? That is not good. So later you will able to do, but for that you should have good programming knowledge, right? First just try this. Later we will see complex things. When you go to JavaScript, you will try yourself complex things, right? As of now, this is enough. This is another example for which one? For that means example is this. What is it? Fx dot css. This is the logic, only simple logic. And index.html have change. This index.html we keep some images. Now similarly some more functions are there. How to deal with them, that we'll see tomorrow, right? First you need to try this. We have learned variables, if statement, and for. After that, now we can go with some other options. Then we will go with bootstrap. So tomorrow we can end this SAS. Then we can go to other concepts. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue.